Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria with another amazing episode of the Sanity Project podcast. All of the guests I have who are amazing come here to talk about how you can discover a life of clarity, confidence, and success. I want to help all of you awaken your mind to clarity, and that's what it's really all about. And today's guest is Tina LaVoie. Tina is a teacher, a mystic, and a visionary. Tina is walking the medicine roads around the world to share with others the knowledge and wisdom necessary to transmutate the process of suffering into the power of loving creation expressed. Working under the tutelage of a wizened grandmother and her formal teacher, Mr. Patrick Collard, Tia has walked the path of life's experiences to access the inner wisdoms of the tribes of the Navajo, the Xhosa, if I'm mispronouncing it, she will correct it, and the Paco medicine lineages of Peru. Through inner observation leading to self-realization, people, it's all about you. Love truly is the answer to every question asked. And what Tia LaVoie is going to talk to us about today, among other things, is purpose and how it can help you in this unruly world and even a calm world. But I think that in this unruly world, everybody needs to know why they are truly here and not just bounce about following things that they don't even know anything about and being angry and in fear all the time. So here to tell us about herself is Tia LaVoie. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. It is an honor to be here. Whew. What a beautiful day it is for us to be here and even have this interaction. I always tell people, you woke up today. Not everybody who went to sleep last night woke up today. So already, things are working in your favor. And I think that's something that's really important to hold on to when we're looking at purpose and the discovery of that and the realization of it and what to do with it. Because purpose is an initiation in all the chapters of our lives. We're always getting initiated into something. We learn how to get initiated into our conditions, right? Usually coming from our parents or even our culture. We learn to get initiated into our purpose as well. And I just, my big vision here today is just to help some people understand that everything that happens around you is getting you into a state where you're doing your own creating. When we try and control things, what happens is we're using our creative power to channel our fear. If you stop channeling it through a fear space, what happens is you start to look at yourself, you gain some courage, you get some confidence, you start hearing your heart, and that's where courage comes from, is to take action from the heart. So you start taking a look at things and you start taking different actions, and before you know it, purpose is revealing itself to you. It's a lit path if we just sit back and look for it and just get confident within ourselves to see what's being lit and what's not.
Well, I think there are some people out there that don't have any clue that they also have a purpose, that there's a reason that they were born.
Yes.
The powers that be don't make those kinds of mistakes. Whether they're here for a short time or a long time, they're here for a reason. I mean, their specific reason is one thing, but I think the generic reason is that they are here to serve others. We're all here to serve, in my opinion, as you are doing so now. And would you talk to people a little bit about how we all have a reason for being here?
Sure. Everything is a vibration. No situation unfolds in our world. No person crosses another person's path without there being something to come from it. And part of recognizing, your purpose is to be willing and receptive and open to seeing as these messengers come, being able to identify, okay, this is a message for me. And so, when we're learning about things, one of the things that I've come to understand, no matter what medicine path I've been on, no matter who I've worked with or who I study under, or who I teach, it's always that it's not ever that something comes from nothing. Something always comes from something previous to it. And I feel like what happens with people is we come into this world and things happen. Situations happen, trauma happens, experiences unfold. But what happens within that happening is we start to write stories because we're all our own greatest storytellers. We all write stories. That's why mythology lives for thousands of years. That's why we can still go back and look at the Greek mythology or the Shinto mysticism or all the mythologies that have been around for so long. The reason that they live on is because they hit archetypes inside of us. I feel like everyone carries a storyteller archetype. Everyone carries a warrior archetype. Everyone has a wisdom archetype. And so when we come into this world, we incarnate, we go through situations in our life. A lot of things happen to a lot of people. And like I said, we can call them trauma. We can also call them catalysts. And so when these things happen, usually in our formative years, we start to develop stories about these things that have happened. Oh, that was so horrible. Oh, that was the worst thing that could happen. Oh, this was the biggest trauma. Then from those stories, we start to write more stories on top of them. Oh, no one knows how this feels. No one could ever understand this because no one else has been through it like I've been through it. And so as we grow, when life happens and we grow, then other situations show up and we are taking those old stories from the things that happened in the beginning and we are applying them to these new situations. And so then as we do this over and over and over again, we confirm or we affirm the thoughts that we had about those original stories. One of the big ones that I see now is trauma recollection or trauma recovery. That's a big phrase. Tell me.
No, it's just that it's people are not willing to let go of things, so they have to keep going. They're not willing to be in the moment, in the present, using current words, current language, and they want to go back to the past and said, "See, it happened because of that. Because my mother did this, my father did that, or I fell here, or so
I'm
on."
Not good enough.
Whatever, but it's the same old story because everybody has, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have that same story, but people are holding on. I know one person, she's 60 years old and she's holding on to the fact that, her brother did something to her when she was 6 years old. It stole some candy or something. That's silly.
It can be silly for sure. And also, it's certainly not the intention to devalue someone's experience, but there is a lot of vision and focus in the work that I do and my contemporaries that, it's for me, it's even a step beyond the letting go. It's getting brave enough to go look at the story and go into it because a lot of people, their conditions, their belief systems in their adult ages are directly affected by the perceptions of those stories that they had to live through, those traumas or those things that happened, or, this thing that happened that now I have a sense of separation in the world. If you will go back and you will take a look at the story, and I don't mean become obsessed with it, I mean really sincerely take a look and go into those corners and go into where those, your monsters whisper to you from the shadows. If you'll go look at the story, then what happens is you can get some guidance and you can start seeking a higher perspective of what that thing that happened actually is. All antagonisms are complementary. It's this famous story about Quetzalcoatl and the Mayan emperor. And basically, Quetzalcoatl tells the Mayans, hey, I have to return back to my homeland. I've come here, I've given you astronomy, I've given you written words and fine arts, and you've learned all these things, and you've really developed yourselves as a culture. Now I have to go. And the Mayan emperor says, well, Father, you've given us so much. How do I take this back to the people? How do I tell the people that the great Father is leaving? And he says, well, I'll come back. I'll make my way back around to this part of the cosmos. But, I have to go. I have to kind of go regenerate or rejuvenate. And so the Mayan emperor is crying, and he says, Quetzalcoatl, can you give us something? Can you give me something to take to my people, so that in the times when we're missing you so much, or we really want to lean on your guidance, but you're not there, can you give us something that will help us to endure until you show back up again? Quetzalcoatl says, give me 3 days. And so Quetzalcoatl goes and does what he does, whether it's meditation or he prays to whatever he prays to, but he comes back, and after 3 days he says, I have the gift. And so the Mayan emperor says, please tell me, Father, what is the thing that you can give us or give to us that will help us to endure the hardships? And so the phrase is, all antagonisms are complementary. Everything has come from something. And so if you will go back and you will look at it, even when you're scared, because the scared places are where your greatest teachers are. If you'll go back and look at it and you will seek a higher perspective, then what happens is your transmission changes, meaning the output you put out into the world. And so because the transmission changes, and because this world is a 360-degree mirror, then what will happen is the reflection has to change that too. If you go to a restaurant and you go to the bathroom and you notice that you have lettuce in your teeth, you don't start scratching at the mirror to remove the lettuce. Mm-hmm. You go directly to the source. It's the same with this work that we do. If you go into the scary places and you go start really looking, this is where guidance comes in. This is why working with somebody is so important. Because if you go in and you start looking for that higher perception, whatever you go looking for is going to reveal itself. And once you start looking at, this thing that happened that I've been naming the most horrible thing that could happen to somebody, actually, I can see that it was a great catalyst, because this thing that happened helped to inspire me to go on and overcome or accomplish or gain these things in my life, to grow from it. So when someone says, hey, I really need to let go of this, I'll say, letting go is one thing, and that's fine, and we can work on that. But ultimately, you're going to grow from it. You're going to outgrow the old conditions, the old belief patterns, because you're starting to look at things from a different viewpoint, a different vantage. It's purpose and feelings and even anger. Anger is undealt with hurt. If you look at the things in your life that you still get reactive to, meaning you still get upset over, or, a physical, you feel off balance or you feel nauseous when this person's name or this memory comes up, that is the exact rabbit hole that I encourage people to jump into. Because if you go into it and you start looking at it, then you can grow from it. My great grandmother was super wise. She finished school second grade. We did not come from a lot of money. And so she had to learn the ways of the land. She was Cherokee, and so her big deal was listening to the messages on the wind, or how the crows speak, or even how the ravens fly that morning. And one of the things that she would tell people is, she would say, how are you doing today? And the person would reply and they'd say, oh man, everything's gone crappy. Everything's just gone to crap. And they would sometimes use a little bit more choice words than just that word crap. My great-grandmother would say, well, honey, even flowers grow from crap. So what do you want to grow today? Mm. And that has stayed with me for all my years being here, and just always remembering that no matter how horrible it seems to have been, you can still grow something really beautiful from it. One of the ways that you can go and start looking for the things that you want to outgrow, or the purpose that you want to have, one of the things to do is start paying attention to your emotions and your feelings. Because your emotions and your feelings are byproducts. They're like road signs of the stories that you've written. If you don't know where to begin, all you've got is right here, right now. So you start from right here, right now. If you don't know where to begin, take a look at the last time you lost your presence. the last time that you got really upset over something, the last time, you went into full chaos mode, and take a look at where that story came from. Who showed up and said or did what, and how did you react to it? And ultimately, where does that story come from? And most often it comes from something that happened in childhood where you felt humiliated or you noticed a sense of separation. We're all getting back into this state of union. We're all getting back into this oneness and totality. And to get into that space, you have to learn about yourself. You have to go figure out what your resistance patterns are. Flow is natural. You're a Taurus. Like, flow is part of your whole theme in the zodiac. Mm-hmm. We are always in a state of flow. We're always in a state of alignment. It's just, what are we choosing to align to? What am I choosing to align with? If you go back and you learn about your resistance patterns based on your belief systems, then what happens is you start to unknot a story. You start to untie or really take a look at all the different strings and yarns and colors that you put into this weaving called your life. And so if you do that, you start valuing yourself, because that's the condition, that's humanity's condition right there, is everybody's got this thing about not feeling good enough. And if you start to work on your self-worth and value, then you start looking at your condition patterns. Then once you start dissipating those condition patterns, those resistances, because you're no longer looking at things the way you were, then what happens is flow is like the great reward. It's the great treasure that you get for being courageous enough to go look at yourself. It's a big one.
And there she goes, setting it up for people to heal themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And, it's people. I think people are unwilling. Well, number one, in order to go back down that rabbit hole, they have to take responsibility.
Yes. And responsibility is just the ability to respond. You can react to life or you can respond to life. And that's the choice in every moment. Because a reaction, if you are reacting, reaction comes from two words: repetitive action. A repeated action because something happened in your early life and you have continued to create a story around it based on your self-worth and self-value. And so that's how you've chosen to honor that thing that's happened. And so when your brain, when you find yourself in a situation currently and your brain's trying to get you to familiarize with it and says, oh, this is just like when your father, humiliated you in front of the class, or this is just when your mom yelled at you in front of, your best friend and then you got all humiliated, or this is when you went through a sexual trauma, or this is what happens when, you grew up feeling abandoned. If you start to look at the story, then ultimately those reactions will stop because you are starting to respond to life. Getting responsible with your choices in this world, that's part of purpose. That's part of your creative nature, is to start getting into a space where you're responsible with what you are choosing to respond to in life. And that will come based on how you see things, how you witness your own self-worth and value, how you choose to honor life itself.
Why do you think people hold on to these stories and are unwilling to respond differently to them?
Self-value.
Okay.
Self-worth. You go through abusive relationships where you're told that you're nothing. You grow up in a household where you're told, you can't do anything right. You're going to need a partner who is going to be greater than you to get you up out of this. We're always devaluing ourselves. We grow up in places where, religion says that we are imperfect. That is such a big thing for me when I hear people, because I come from a Southern Baptist line. I come from circuit preachers and I come from swamp witches, and I love the dichotomy of that. But one of the big things is we're culturally taught that we are not good enough. Your religion will tell you things like, you are imperfect. There was only one perfect person who ever came to the world. And I say, well, if my creator is perfect, then how can I be anything but perfect? I don't think that the issue is imperfection. I think that we're all perfect. I think that everything that happens in our lives is a perfect unfolding to get us to realize purpose, our abilities to create, because we're all creators. Things happen to us so that we can remember what we're really made of. We can muster our courage. We can remember our mettle. We can really see what we're working with. But if you go into a situation that's testing you and you've got the mentality that I'm imperfect, I'll never be good enough, I remember what my dad said, I remember what the abusive relationship told me. If you're holding on to that, then you're not going to see the situations that are showing up to give you lessons, to help you remember how powerful you really are in creating your life. You're going to look at it and be like, wow, see, this is, God's angry at me, or whatever I decide to name as my creator, whatever I pray to is upset with me because I'm just not good enough. I feel like if everyone just woke up one morning with the decision that, hey, you know what? I'm perfect. And in this moment, whatever's happening, that's perfect too. And so in what unfolds in this day, that's going to be perfection as well. You can interchange the word perfection with the word love. So I'm love. This situation is love. So only love can come from this. And you don't get caught up in your judgments or your conditioned beliefs. Magic happens. The beautiful magic of what creation is and what vibration is and what alignment is all about. I do my best to teach the people I work with, hey, if you are aligned in your heart, only good things can come to you. And it's just, the Buddha came here to teach people how to end suffering. And maybe, he taught who he needed to teach. I say, well, if we've already got suffering on this earth, then let's show people how to transmutate, how to transform their suffering into the realization of how powerful and what they can create in this life. You're creatively powerful. You're powerfully creative. And so when we go into situations, if we're already looking at it through our belief system of not good enough, then the not good enough outcome has to be because it's the reflection.
Absolutely.
We're funny like that. We need jolts in life, We need things to show up. We need to have that disease scare. We need to have that illness show up at times to get us in a jolted state so that we're like, well, maybe I got to look at something a little different here. It's a message. Everything that happens to you is constantly bringing you a message. It's just on us, if we want to be responsible in our world, to start looking at the messages and seek the highest perspective of that message. That's why I was telling you, I don't ever naysay when I speak with people when I'm in session. I never tell someone, oh, you just won't have this happen. I don't believe in that. I think that it's completely unfair because someone has shown up, given you their hard-earned money so that you can give them advice or tell them the translation of what you see. I think that it's really important that even if you've ever gone and had a reading with somebody and that person has told you, hey, I'm really sorry, you're not going to get this in life, that's a person that has shown up to be your catalyst to either accept their story as your own and then it becomes your experience, or you say, you know what, that just didn't resonate for me. That just did not feel in tune with me. And so, you know what? I get it, universe. This person was a test to get me jolted enough so that I start perfecting my craft and I start becoming the best being that I'm here to be. And so, what's my purpose?
Yeah, that's the way I just... Go ahead.
Yeah.
That's the way
purpose just comes from a word that means intention. What are you intending?
That's the way I'm going to look at it now. That's for sure. Anybody can say anything else, and it's not about, and it's about themselves really, and their biases. People have so many biases. My God, they do. They just come with this basket full of biases, and I've noticed that recently with a lot of professional people. When I say professional, I mean doctors and lawyers, etc. And they're human beings first. That's what we have to remember. But everybody's human first, but even though they have this title of a doctor, surgeon, whatever, they're still human. And whatever they say, because the second party, I had a situation recently where I said to a particular healthcare practitioner, my so-and-so doctor says this. And he says, well, why doesn't he say that? I said, his bias is this, not that. And it's that simple. Once you get attached to a way of being, it's no different than going into your past and bringing up the stories, because this is just a bias, it's just another story. So, Tia LaVoie, what would you tell people? First of all, tell people how they can find you. Hello? Hello?
Hello, are we there?
Oh,
Can
we're
you hear
still
me?
there. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Tell people how
You
they
can
can
find
find
me?
you. Yeah.
Sure. You can find me at beloveseelove.com. That's BELOVESEELOVE.com. I'm also on Facebook, TIA, second word, LAVOIE. It's really interesting in this call today because just the energy of what's happening in 2020 is all about, numerologically, it's about relationship. And relationship can oftentimes reveal purpose. What is my intention here? The relationship with ourselves, the relationship with other people, which are ultimately just reflections of aspects of us. It's good. Thank you for this call today.
Well, I'm grateful that you are here because you have put forth a lot of information that is applicable to anyone who cares to do so.
Absolutely.
What would you tell somebody to do right now if they've listened to this? And I always tell people, re-listen to the podcast, listen to it again.
Yes.
Because you, again and again and again, as often as you want to. And I would always say, sit there with the pen and paper, because I'm fond of yellow pads, and take notes. And
yes.
because you don't know what you've missed. And each time you
Right.
listen to it, you're going to hear something else. So listen to it
Yes.
and tell your friends to listen to it. And obviously, of course, you can go to Apple and give Tia LaVoie a rave review for her work. And
thank you.
Well, that's also something that anybody can do. Anyone can do that. I don't care, whatever it is, you can do that. But what would you tell people, Tia, today to do regarding their purpose? Go ahead.
So it doesn't matter who tells it to somebody. It doesn't matter if you tell them, if I tell them, if, an alien comes down in a UFO right now and tells them. If we have some kind of great wisdom and we're sharing that with somebody else, that person is not going to hear it if they're not valuing themselves. The first step on any journey that you're about to take is always realize that you are worthy and worth it to take this journey, or to start writing this new chapter in the life of your personal legend. Or, every journey requires an offering. And so what's the offering that you choose to give? If I realize that I'm worthy to attain this desired outcome or this goal or my purpose, then I've got to remember the value of me to begin with, because I'm going to be ultimately the experiencer, the author, the witness, the observer, the active party in whatever this step is about. So the first thing I encourage people, realize that you're worthy to attain your dreams. Realize that you're worthy to take action that might seem really crazy to the tribe around you. But if it feels good in your heart and your heart's encouraging it, which, like I said, is where courage comes from. Courage literally comes from the phrase to take action from the heart. So if you start to develop and you start to recognize what your heart speaks to you and you follow that lit path, all the things that you desire come to you. That's just the magic, but you have to value yourself first. If you don't value yourself, who else is going to value you? How can you expect the reflections of the people who show up in your world to value you if you're not valuing what you are and what you're here to do? Even if you don't have the answer of what you're here to do. There are so many people that I come across that say, I knew there was something greater in this life. I knew there was more than just waking up and being a mom or being a worker or being all of the above and going to work and clocking in my 9 to 5 and taking a 30-minute lunch and working on my, 401ks and worrying about the future and investing in this. Invest in yourself. You have right now. The next moment is not guaranteed. So invest in yourself, Find your purpose by choosing to hold the value of who and what you are. You are a creative divine being walking this journey and really doing amazing things. And if you can't realize the amazing things that you've already done, then you deserve to hold yourself in value and really take a look at your story and see all that you've accomplished so far. It's value, starting with your value. I am worthy of this. I'm worthy to take the steps to achieve this desired outcome that I have. You know the word aspire? Aspire. When we have aspirations, what are your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations? The word aspire means to breathe into. So when you are literally inhaling to feed your body so that you can continue living, you are inspiring. They call that inspiration. That's to draw into. And aspiration is to breathe out. You are breathing out into this reality, all of your thoughts that you have, all of your judgments, all your resistance, all your flow, all your worth, all your honor, all of the above. So what are you choosing to breathe in and what are you choosing to breathe out? That's a big question to ask yourself.
You've had your lesson for the day, people. You've had several minutes of LaVoie. And when I asked her what you should do next, it's about yourself. Invest in yourself, value yourself, go to your heart and see what you find. If you have a story that you're talking about from 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, and believe me, people hold on that long, if not beyond death.
Absolutely.
And then that's why they have to keep coming back and doing it all over again, and that's not what I want to do. I got to move on now. Just go back and look at what you've learned, but it's about you. There is nobody else, and there is everybody else. So, as I said before, re-listen to the podcast multiple times, share it with your friends, tell them to download it, put it on their whatever device that works for them, and come back next time. And if you want to learn more about me, you can go to my website at askjoannevictoria.com. There's many free things there, podcasts and blog posts and free books and so on and so forth that every one of us that has a website has, but mine are better. That's the only thing I can say. Have a great day, everybody, and talk soon. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.